Grade 9 chapter The Happy Prince. The Happy Prince has been penned by Oscar Wilde. The Happy Prince was a beautiful statue. He was covered with gold. He had sapphires for eyes and a ruby in his sword. Why did he want to part with all the gold that he had and his precious stones? High above the city, on a tall column, stood the statue of the Happy Prince. He was gilded all over with thin leaves of fine gold. For eyes, he had two bright sapphires, and a large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. One night there flew the city a little swallow. Swallow is a bird. His friends had gone away to Egypt. He had stayed behind and then he decided to go to Egypt too. All day long he flew, and at night time he arrived at the city. Where shall I put up? He said. I hope the town has made preparations. The bird was extremely tired. It had flown far and wide the day long, and he wanted to rest for a while. Then he saw the statue on the tall column. I will put up here, he cried. It is a fine position with plenty of fresh air. So he alighted just between the feet of the happy prince. I have a golden bedroom, he said softly to himself. The bird was excited to reach the city. He thought that he found the better place to relax. And as he was thinking, he prepared to go to sleep. After a while, just as he was putting his head under his wing, a large drop of water fell on him. What a curious thing, he cried. There is not a single cloud in the sky. The stars are quite clear and bright, and yet it is raining. Then another drop fell. What is the use of a statue if it cannot keep the rain off? He said. I must look for a good chimney pot. And he determined to fly away. But after some time, and before he had opened his wings, a third drop fell, and he looked up and saw. Ah, what did he see? The eyes of the happy prince were filled with tears, and tears were running down his golden cheeks. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight that the little swallow was filled with pity. Who are you? He said. I am a happy prince. The statue replied that he was the happy prince. Why are you weeping then? Asked the swallow. You have quite drenched me. The bird was wondering how it could get drenched when it was under the statue. And he thought to himself, what is the use of the statue if it cannot keep the rain off? But when he saw the happy prince, he raised the question that why he was weeping. When I was alive and had a human heart, answered the statue. I did not know what tears were. When the happy prince introduced himself, he continued saying that when he was alive, he did not know what human heart was. I did not know what tears were, but I lived in the palace for long and saw people suffer. The happy prince was happy to live in the palace, and he did not know what was sorrow all about. He thought that in his palace, sorrow was something that was not allowed to enter. My courtiers called me the happy prince, and happy indeed I was, he said. So I lived and so I died. And now that I am dead, they have set me up here so high that I can see the ugliness and all the misery of my city. And though my heart is made of lead, yet I cannot choose but weep. What is he not solid gold? Said the swallow to himself. He was too polite to make any personal remarks. Far away, continued the statue in a low musical voice. Far away, in a little street, there is a poor house. One of the windows is open, and through it I can see a woman seated at a table. Her face is thin and worn, and she has coarse red hands, all pricked by the needle, for she is a seamstress. The swallow was wondering how can the statue speak. She is listening to the story narrated by the happy prince. The prince continued that the seamstress was embroidering flowers on a satin gown for the loveliest of the queen's maids of honor to wear at the next court ball. In a bed in the corner of the room, her little boy is lying ill. He has a fever and is asking his mother to give him oranges. The seamstress did not have anything to earn her livelihood. She had nothing left with her, and she could not afford to buy anything for her son, and that made her feel sad. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hilt? The prince said, my feet are fastened to this pedestal and I cannot move. The prince, the happy prince, wanted the swallow to get the ruby out of his sword hilt and gift it to the seamstress. The swallow replied, I am waited for in Egypt. The prince wanted the swallow to help him. When the swallow said that his friends were waiting for him, he had to fly down the Nile and reach Egypt. The prince asked the swallow to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. The boy is so thirsty and the mother so sad, he said. I don't think I like boys, answered the swallow. I want to go to Egypt. The swallow did not want to be there with the prince for long. He was excited to go to Egypt and meet his friends. But the prince requested the swallow to help him, and this is how the swallow had to pluck the ruby out of the hilt and gift it to the seamstress. Far away across the city, I see a young man in a garret, the prince said. He is leaning over a desk covered with papers. There is no fire in the grate, and hunger has made him faint. Now the happy prince wanted to help this man who was hungry and was about to faint. He wanted the swallow to pick the rare sapphires that were put up on him. My eyes are all that I have left, he said. They are made of rare sapphires. The swallow was not very happy to be there with the happy prince. But as the happy prince was doing something that was noble, the swallow thought that he should be there with the happy prince for a while and be a great help to him. When the swallow flew back to the happy prince and told him what he had done, it is a curious remark that he shares. That is because you have done a good action, said the prince. And the little swallow began to think and then fell asleep. Thinking always made the swallow feel sleepy. When the day broke, he flew down to the river and had a bath. Tonight I go to Egypt, said the swallow, and he was in high spirits at the prospect. He visited all the monuments and sat a long time on top of the church steeple. So this is how the swallow moved around the city, and at the end he sat on the top of the church steeple. When the moon rose, he flew back to the happy prince. Have you any commissions for Egypt? He cried. I'm just starting. But the happy prince told that will you stay with me one night longer? The swallow replied, I'm waited for in Egypt. But when the happy prince told him that he was very much eager to help the old man who was hungry and helpless, the swallow accepted the request, and he thought that he could pluck the sapphires from the happy prince's eyes and gift it to the old man. Alas, I have no ruby now, said the prince. My eyes are all that I have left. He ordered the swallow to pluck out one of them and take it to the playwright. He will sell it to the jeweler and buy firewood and finish his play, he said. Dear prince, said the swallow, I cannot do that. And he began to weep. Now, Swallow was upset. He thought that if he is going to pluck the sapphire from the happy prince's eyes, he will not be able to see anything and he will be in pain. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, do as I command you. So the swallow plucked out the prince's eye and flew away to the young man's garret. It was easy enough to set in. his flight, and as he got there, there was a hole in the roof. Through this he darted and came into the room. The young man had his head buried in his hands, so he did not hear the flutter of the bird's wings, and when he looked up, he found the beautiful sapphire lying on the withered violets. I am beginning to be appreciated, he cried. This is from some great admirer. Now I can finish my play, and he looked quite happy. The next day, the swallow flew down to the harbor. He sat on the mast of a large vessel and watched the sailors working. I am going to Egypt, cried the swallow. But nobody minded, and when the moon rose, he flew back to the happy prince. I have come to bid you goodbye, he cried. So here the swallow did as the prince said, and then he went back to the happy prince to inform him that he is about to leave for Egypt. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, will you not stay with me one night longer? It is winter, answered the swallow, and the snow will soon be there. In Egypt, the sun is warm on the green palm trees, and the crocodiles lie in the mud and look lazily about them. But the happy prince asked him to wait for a day. He said, in the square below, there stands a little match girl. She has left her matches fall in the gutter, and they are all spoiled. Her father will beat her if she does not bring home some money, and she is crying. She has no shoes or stockings, and her little head is bare. Pluck out my other eye and give it to her, and her father will not beat her. I will stay with you one night longer, said the swallow, but I cannot pluck out your eye. You would be quite blind then. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince. Do as I command you. So here the swallow was helpless. He had to follow the commands of the happy prince. So he plucked out the prince's other eye and darted down with it. He swooped past the match girl and slipped the jewel into the palm of her hand. What a lovely bit of glass, cried the little girl, and she ran home laughing. Then the swallow came back to the prince. You are blind now, he said, so I will stay with you always. No, little swallow, said the poor prince. You must go away to Egypt. No, I will stay with you always, said the swallow, and he slept at the prince's feet. All the next day, he sat on the prince's shoulder and told him stories of what he had seen in the strange lands. So, this is how the swallow made friends with the happy prince. Later on, we read that after narrating the stories of what the swallow had seen, the prince was happy. And this is how the marvelous things were described by the swallow. Dear little swallow, said the prince, you tell me of marvelous things, but more marvelous than anything is the suffering of men and women. There is no mystery so great as misery. Flying over my city, little swallow, You will come across so many places where you will see men and women suffering. So he instructed the swallow to fly over the city and tell him what he saw. Now the swallow flew over the great city and saw the rich making merry in their beautiful houses while the beggars were sitting at the gates. He flew into dark lanes and saw the white faces of the starving children looking out listlessly at the black streets. Under the archway of a bridge, little boy, that is, the children, there were two little boys who were lying in each other's arms to try and keep themselves warm. How hungry we are, they said. You must not be here, shouted the watchman, and they wandered out into the rain. So the swallow is watching the children starve under the bridge. Then he flew back and told the prince what he had seen. I am covered with fine gold, said the prince. You must take it off leaf by leaf and give it to the poor. The living always think that the gold can make them happy. So those people, those who are alive, for them gold is precious and they are always happy to get lot of food and precious stuff. This is what the prince thought to himself. And this is what he told the swallow. Leaf after leaf of the fine gold that swallow picked off, till the happy prince looked quite dull and grey. Leaf after leaf of gold was taken away, and now the happy prince was looking extremely weak, dull, and grey. The swallow gifted the gold to the children. The children's faces grew rosier and they laughed and played in the street. We have bread now, they cried. Then the snow came, and after the snow came the frost. The streets looked as if they were made of silver. Everybody went about in furs, and the little boys wore scarlet caps and skated on the ice. So now the scene was different. It was winter, there was snowfall, and the children were merrily playing in the snow. They wore furry clothes and they were looking pretty. The poor little swallow grew colder and colder, but he would not leave the prince. He loved him too well. He picked up crumbs outside the baker's door when the baker was not looking and tried to keep himself warm by flapping his wings. So now it was too cold and it was unbearable for the swallow to keep himself warm. So whenever he got the chance, he went near the baker's shop, get some crumbs to eat and keep himself warm. But he did not want to leave the happy prince. It is not to Egypt that I am going, said the swallow. I am going to the house of death. Death is the brother of sleep. Is he not? This is what the swallow told the happy prince. When it became very unbearable, the prince wanted him to go to Egypt. But the swallow said that he would die because of cold instead of going to Egypt, and he would never leave him alone in the city. And he kissed the happy prince on the lips and fell down dead at his feet. So, this is how the swallow died due to cold. Early the next morning, the mayor was walking in the square below in the company with the town councillors. As they passed the column, he looked up at the statue. Dear me, how shabby the happy prince looks, he said. How shabby indeed, cried the town councillors. who always agreed with the mayor, and they went up to look at it. Now the people started reacting when they saw that the happy prince was left with no gold and it was looking shabby, as the statue was not properly covered with gold. The statue looked shabby, which the mayor did not like. So he stated this to the town councillors, and the town councillors agreed to what the mayor said, as usual. The ruby has fallen out of his sword, his eyes are gone, and he is golden no longer, said the mayor. In fact, he is little better than a beggar. Little better than a beggar, said the town councillors. And here is actually a dead bird at his feet. Continue the mayor. Okay? The mayor continued saying that the happy prince doesn't look good, but above all, there is a dead bird lying at his feet. We must really issue a proclamation that birds are not allowed here. And the town clerk made a note of the suggestion. They pulled down the statue of the happy prince as he no longer looked beautiful and useful. They melted the statue in a furnace with a strange thing, and above all, they threw the broken lead heart of the happy prince away somewhere. This is how the people, those who have been around near the statue, they saw that the heart was thrown away. The heart was thrown on a dust heap where the dead swallow was also lying. This is how the story ends. Later on, we read, bring me the two most precious things in the city, said God, to one of his angels, and the angel brought him the leaden heart and the dead bird. Okay, so this is what the author is summarizing. He states that the God asked one of the angels to go and fetch the leaden heart and the dead bird. And as the angel brought them, the God said, You have rightly chosen, you have rightly chosen them, the God said. For in my garden of paradise, this little bird shall sing forever more in my city of gold. The happy prince shall praise me. So the act of kindness of the happy prince and the swallow made the god bless them. Through this story, we learn that the author wants the readers to realize that it is always good to be kind and generous and be of great help to others. Read the story carefully and see how you can summarize it in your own words. Highlight what did the happy prince do and why he wanted the swallow to help him.